coming in from the Rajya Sabha as the proceedings of the House continue. Now it is the clause-by-clause voting, although the Women's Reservation Bill has been passed and congratulatory messages have started pouring in, with the Prime Minister saying that he thanks all the Rajya Sabha MPs and how this is a historic, momentous occasion. Home Minister Amit Shah thanking the Prime Minister. He has also put out a detailed tweet in which he has spoken about how when there is a will, there is a way. He goes on to say that how this is a historic milestone which has been achieved today on the path of equitable governance as the Rajya Sabha has passed the Women's Reservation Bill. Then Mr. Shah goes on to say that how it's a fulfilling of a long pending demand, and Prime Minister Modi ji has sent a powerful message of gender equality and inclusive governance across the world. Several, party ministers, MPs across party lines have all started sharing their thoughts on what a day it is. We are witnessing history, ladies and gentlemen, unfold. This is the new Parliament of India, the new Parliament where the parliamentarians entered just 3 days ago. And now they have decided as their first business of the House, it will be about this historic legislation which grants 33% reservation for women in the Lok Sabha and the state assemblies. Yes, the women will have to wait a little longer. In fact, several years down the line when it will be implemented. But overall, the first step has been taken. The bill has been passed by the Lok Sabha yesterday, by the Rajya Sabha today. And certainly, it's a defining moment for India. The world's largest democracy has taken this decisive step in what will be seen as an effort towards gender equality and doing away with the gender injustice. It is progressive and it will certainly will be seen as a new seed in the chapter of women empowerment which has just been planted. Vasudha continues to be with us. We have Vedant here in the studio as well. When we look at these visuals and all those MPs who are present, they are witnessing history. They have been the makers of this history, and nobody wants to be on the wrong side of this history, Vedant. And that is the reason why both the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha voting it with full unanimity.
Absolutely, Maria. And as you said, the first legislative business that was taken up in the new parliament, in the new seat of the world's largest democracy was the Women's Reservation Bill. So the messaging really being on point. And we all remember the Prime Minister's speech as well, how there was an emotional pitch, how he said that he has been chosen for the Women's Reservation Bill and for this absolutely historic bill to be passed in Parliament. There was an emotional pitch by the Prime Minister there, and it's been emphasized time and again by the Prime Minister and the Modi government that women-led development is what is at the center of their agenda, something that was highlighted in India's G20 presidency, as well as concerns were many about the falling numbers as far as women participation in the labour force is concerned. But of course, a strong message there by the Modi government that they championed the Women's Reservation Bill, they cleared it in the cabinet, and it was passed in both houses, and very significantly in the Rajya Sabha with 0 abstentions and 0 no's. So extremely historic there. And just as we were discussing, Maria, the Women's Reservation Bill has gone through a whole journey in itself. It was introduced first by the Devagowda government back in '96 and again reintroduced by the UPA government in 2008. But before we come back to that, let's listen into what's happening in Parliament as we speak.
Abstain 0. Honourable members, clause 5 is adopted by a majority of the total membership of the House and by a majority of not less than 2/3 of the members of the House present and voting. Clause 6 stands part of the bill. There are 3 amendments. 10 and 11 by Sri Santosh Kumar P. 45 by Sri Binoy Vishwam. Are you moving, sir? Yes, sir. Both of you? Excellent. Amendments moved. I shall first put the amendments moved by Sri Santosh Kumar P to vote. Those in favor will please say aye. Aye. Those against will please say no. No. I think the noes have it. The noes have it. The noes have it. The amendments are negatived. I shall now put the amendment moved by Shri Binoy Viswam to vote. Those in favor will please say aye. Those against will please say no. I think the noes have it. The noes have it. The noes have it. The amendment is negative. I shall now put clause 6 to vote. Those in favor will please say aye. Those against will please say no. I think the ayes have it. Division. Lobbies are already cleared. Secretary General.
Honorable members, I am starting the voting process. The voting time starts now.
We will discuss changes after this tomorrow, day after. We'll discuss. टाइम क्या हुआ है?
All right, so those proceedings are underway there in Rajya Sabha, the clause-by-clause amendment being taken up there in Rajya Sabha. Grand celebrations, of course, have been planned by the government, by the party as well. The Prime Minister will be meeting all women MPs and, of course, grand celebrations at the main gate of the Parliament as well. A historic moment indeed that after 13 years of being pending in Parliament, the Women's Reservation Bill has been passed with complete unanimity, complete consensus in both the houses. That's most critical. In Rajya Sabha, of course, with 0 noes and 0 abstentions. The fact the Modi government could get together all the parties across ideological lines, across the spectrum, to agree on the Women's Reservation Bill and come together and get it passed. Of course, the Home Minister tweeting that where there's a will, there's a way. The Prime Minister saying we are ushering in a new era of women-led development and increased women participation in polity. Sumara, of course, as we were discussing, you've been covering this for years now, and this is something that's been a long-standing demand of women across party lines. And many have said that, there was no political will to actually get this legislation passed, because for many it would be like signing off their death warrant, because they would have to give up their seats. But it has been quite a journey.
Yes, absolutely. But let me bring in Sunil Prabhu, who has tracked this legislation for years in Parliament. Sunil, your thoughts on this day? It's historic, and you have seen history unfold.
Absolutely, it's a great day. It's a great moment for women's movements, for women leaders, for various people who have been talking about political representation. I think this is a great day for India. And why is it so great? Because I was there in Parliament in 1996, and I remember the late Geeta Mukherjee, who was really struggled to get bipartisan support at that time, and it looked like virtually done when, of course, Mr. Sharad Yadav and the other leaders at that time decided to not support it, and that's the reason for why it's been a struggle. It's been a struggle because India had coalition politics. And even when in 2010 it was passed in the Rajya Sabha, it was the determination of the then Congress President Sonia Gandhi to get it through, even though Congress core group members weren't completely unanimously in favor of that decision. Many of us today talk about Mamata Banerjee, but she was also upset with the manner and approach of how that bill was passed in the Rajya Sabha in 2010. So it is definitely a huge historic moment for women's leaders, for women movements, to see bipartisan support. Ultimately, all parties from across the political spectrum have contributed, and I think the Prime Minister set the tone to this morning in the Lok Sabha as well as in the Rajya Sabha, just before it was taken up for passage, that this is clearly an opportune moment. Of course, as we speak, clause by clause, voting is taking place for that entire bill to be accepted. These are protocols that are required for a constitutional amendment, but definitely a huge day for women, and I really feel that a lot passes over time. Time is a healer. Today, to get unanimous support without marshals being brought in and being able to pass this bill is definitely a huge occasion.
Yes, and Sunil, you made an interesting point there that marshals were not asked to come in, and the way members conducted themselves and the nature of discussion overall in both the houses of Parliament. How do you look at the debates in general? Who do you think made the most emphatic point?
Well, I think if you honestly ask me, I think the Lok Sabha yesterday did have a much better debate and discussion, and I think that was really set rolling by no less than the Congress President herself, making that demand and making that very, very important shift in terms of now endorsing OBC politics, and I think that's a huge significant step that has been done. What is the consensus today? If you see across party lines, everybody demanding a caste census. I remember when I was covering Dr. Manmohan Singh's cabinet and the census was to be taken at that time in 2011, there was a huge demand for a caste census, and there was a big debate in the cabinet on this. It took nearly 4 hours, and finally there was no unanimity on that entire issue. Ultimately, they had to do a socio-economic census in the Ministry of Rural Development, and what they now say must be published and go ahead. So a lot has transgressed, and of course, I think yesterday's discussion about OBC, about the fact that why can't we implement it immediately, and both the Home Minister as well as the Law Minister saying that we don't want to fall prey to PILs, and we want to be serious about implementation, and that's the reason why things have gone forward the way it has.
Absolutely, Sunil. And as you were mentioning, you were there in Parliament back in 1996, when it was first introduced by the Deve Gowda government, and it has come, a long way, and a historic moment indeed. The Women's Reservation Bill being passed in both the houses and, of course, in Rajya Sabha with 0 noes and 0 abstentions. We are witnessing history unfolding, not just, as far as the politics is concerned, but for Indian polity at large, because as the Prime Minister put it, we are ushering in a new era of women-led development. We'll take a short break now. There's more on the other side.
This is our special broadcast where we are continuing to track the entire procedure, the proceedings that are continuing in the House of Elders, the upper house of parliament, that is the Rajya Sabha, where the Women's Reservation Bill has been passed, but it is the clause-by-clause amendment which is being put to vote. Sunil Prabhu continues to be with us. Sunil, from 1996 to 2010 and from 2010 to today, a long journey. And at every point, we did see one political party or the other opposing it. Although, the regional parties and the Congress did talk about OBC reservation within the women's reservation, but nobody really opposed it in terms of being counted to be opposed. So, there are no parties opposing it on the floor of the House.
None of them opposing, because all of them have actually supported blanket 33%. As I said, there's been a rethink from 2010 to 2023, where they're now demanding OBC reservation for women and ensuring that a caste census. So if there is a particular theme that you can draw from this, which is going to be a next big political demand after women's reservation, which took 30 years, is the question of caste census, which is now a big political demand by the opposition, something that the government is still considering and hasn't taken a call yet, because the present census, the 2021, has been delayed, and there was no provision for having, enumerating castes, and that's something that is a big political divide. So if you see both the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha cutting across party lines in a subtle way, everybody talking about caste census. But today, of course, is a historic day. It's a historic day for women. It's a historic day for women's movements, for women leaders, for all people who have been aspiring for political representation. And I think, as the Prime Minister himself says, it's a defining moment. It's definitely not only a defining, but a historic moment that we are definitely at the last legs of a long journey.
All right, so we're being told that Arjun Ram Meghwal is currently speaking in Parliament. Let's listen.
Be passed. Motion moved that the bill be passed. The question is that the bill be passed. Those in favor will please say aye. Aye. Those against will please say no. I think the ayes have it. Division lobbies are already cleared. Secretary General.
Honorable members, I am starting the voting process. The voting time starts now.
All right, so those proceedings still underway, but as we're discussing, Maria, a historic moment as far as India's history is concerned, and the Prime Minister also saying that we're ushering in the era of women-led development, we're ushering in an era of stronger representation for women. Sunil Prabhu is with us on the broadcast, and Sunil, talk to us a bit about the political timing of it as well. That's crucial because of course we have crucial elections just months away and in the run-up to 2024, and experts have pointed out time and again that the return of Prime Minister Modi in 2024 and the further strategy of the India bloc also hinges on women voters. So of course in the larger political context, the timing is something that cannot be ignored as well.
Absolutely, cannot be ignored. And just to let our viewers know that the final voting is underway, which is now just a technicality. We will definitely see the bill pass, so it will be passed by 2/3 majority. Now, of course, it goes from the Rajya Sabha Secretariat and the Rajya Sabha chairperson to the President of India for her final signature, which is expected tomorrow. And once that's done, it will become an act. But the timing, and I must, let our viewers know, this was a top secret decision. A top secret decision that even nobody knew within the cabinet. It was a table item that the Women's Reservation Bill was being brought. The fact that the Prime Minister kept this close to his chest, the people who were involved, and it was only on a need-to-know basis who came to know about the fact that they were bringing this legislation. A lot of thought process was done, a lot of thinking was done by key cabinet ministers who were in charge of this entire process, along with the Prime Minister and his officers. And then, of course, the final touches given, and they worked the midnight oil after the cabinet gave that clearance for its final approval. So it's been a top secret decision. The timing couldn't have been perfect. The new parliament to usher in a new era, to make it sure that what has basically got a broad consensus where every political party will agree. And there was near unanimity in terms of the women's reservation bill, which we saw both in the Lok Sabha as well as in the Rajya Sabha when it has been passed. So it's definitely a huge historic moment, a great day for India, for a great day for women in particular, for many people who have been working tirelessly for this political representation for many years. Many have died, many have survived it, but for them, it's a day to rejoice, it's a day to celebrate, it's a day for women to finally be able, even though it might be, as the opposition says, it's a post-dated check. Nevertheless, the fact is, it's now a constitutional amendment. It's enshrined in our constitution, and that's a big step forward.
And what a day it is. Sunil rightly said that we have witnessed history. The Rajya Sabha has passed this crucial legislation. It will become a law now after the approval of the president. It's only a matter of procedure, but yes, it's a defining moment in the world's largest democracy, where the women of this country will get their due. Of course, they'll have to wait a little longer. We'll have to wait a little longer for proportional representation. But yes, it's a step in the right direction, and near unanimity with which it has been passed, Sunil, in both the Houses of Parliament, is a message that India of 2023 is best placed for giving the women their rightful place in history. Let's listen in to what the Vice President is saying.
Result of the division, subject to correction, I is 214. It's a thumping all around. Yes. Noes 0, abstain 0. Honorable members, the motion is adopted by a majority of the total membership of the House and by a majority of not less than 2/3 of the members of the House present and voting. The bill is passed by the constitutionally required majority. Let the lobbies be opened. Let the lobbies be opened.
So, Rajya Sabha has been adjourned, sine die. It's the closure of the special session of Parliament. You can see Party President Mr. J.P. Nadda go to the Prime Minister and all the leaders, Party Ministers, Home Minister Amit Shah, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, all of them going and congratulating the Prime Minister. In particular, we can see those women MPs present and congratulating the Prime Minister for what has been his effort. He has been leading this entire charge in ensuring that this is a moment for rejoicing for the women of India. That is the moment. Those are the visuals coming in from the Rajya Sabha. All women MPs of the BJP going to the Prime Minister to congratulate him, and as sloganeering begins inside the House, several MPs from various political parties can be seen as well. Perhaps now the Prime Minister will start walking outside, and there is a celebration which has been planned. Women MPs of the BJP will be congratulating the Prime Minister, and there'll be celebration also at the BJP headquarters tomorrow. You can see the Prime Minister exiting the Rajya Sabha now amidst sloganeering of and congratulatory messages coming in from his party men and women. There is the Prime Minister accompanied by the Parliamentary Affairs Minister now leaving the Rajya Sabha. We will be seeing him now exit the Parliament House. This is the new Parliament which has scripted history. The first business of the House has been of immense success. First business of the House has been about this legislation which grants 33% reservation for women.